When Copernicus suggested that we weren't the center of the universe, he was put on house arrest for the rest of his life. And they finally forgave him in 1995, right? So that was in the 14th century he did that. So they're not forthgiving. So what have they got up their sleeve that they're going to say that this is happening in the very near future? Maybe some of us are already seeing ETs. Maybe the orbs that you see on films are visits from ETs. Because an awful lot of these things come from other dimensions. Yes, I don't think we live in a three-dimensional universe. I think we live in a multiple-dimensional universe, and we know of at least 9 of those dimensions. And some of us are living on different dimensions at the same time, simultaneously. Probably all of us are. But you can imagine if a 5th or a 6th dimensional being came along, the amount of energy it would take for them to manifest himself down on the 3rd plane would be so horrendously large, they go, why should I? Just to satisfy these guys on the planet so they can have an ET experience? We'd rather bring them up to our level. It's easier for us to do that in their dream state than to bring them down. Bring them on visions. Now, I don't think that means that we're not going to have this. I do think within the next year or so, we're going to actually see 3-dimensional ETs. Because I think the powers to be have to create us in fear. They did the swine flu, they did the Gulf thing, they did all these various Twin Tower things like this. The more they can keep us in fear, the more they're in control. If we're in love and we're feeling golden things, we're not in fear. And because of that, we live in a state of consciousness that we can evolve. And I don't think they want us to evolve to another level, to be honest with you, because they might lose control. So I wouldn't doubt a 3-dimensional holographic Mars attack thing happening within the next year or so. Because the time is running out. They almost have to have that kind of concept. So I'm suggesting just because you see it in TV, it might not be real. I know that's a radical thought, but I don't really have time to go into this, but what I'm really trying to say is things are manifesting really fast. It used to be, if you wanted coffee, you had a choice of it being white or black. Maybe some sugar in it. Now you have all the choices of different kinds of coffee you can have. You can have a latte, you can have Madagascar cinnamon, you can have all these various things. But it's getting to the point that almost as soon as you think something, it's manifested. That's what we're looking at in the golden age. What I'm really saying is, as a species, we're evolving. We're evolving from Homo erectus to Homo sapien to Homo sapien sapien to Homo illuminus. The people that make it through this portal to the golden age are literally going to be Homo illuminus. That process. We now know a lot about the physiology of how this works. When I went through my first degrees in environmental biology, I was told that humans were run by DNA. They were run by the genetics. We now know that's categorically not true, even though it's still being taught in the textbooks. The genetics, the DNA, at the very, very most, is a sophisticated hardware store that can manufacture things. Yes, it determines you have blue eyes or brown eyes, but it doesn't show how you see. That is a level of consciousness which is, lack of better words, a kind of a computer program. It's not the DNA that does that. We now know that. And there's many, many different people who have worked with this, but basically the science is called epigenetics, above genetics, and we now know what controls at the cellular level is the cell membrane. And literally there's all kinds of receptor sites in there that actually run the program, and you can have all kinds of functions that don't even touch DNA working on. That's the computer sheet that literally keeps this whole level of consciousness. Epigenetics. It's a genetic phenomena, or above genetics. Certainly the genetics are involved with creating the pieces, but literally it comes down to how our cell membrane perceives its environment, how it evolves. Remember how I said a few minutes ago we live in a fractal universe? If you understand one part of the fractal, you understand all parts of the fractal because they're in fractal relationship with each other. So if we have a cell that has this kind of relationship, the bigger universe has that same kind of relationship. Let's just say that really what happens with the cell is perception is the most important thing. To coin a various commercial byline, location, 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 everything comes down to perception, perception, perception. You get what you perceive. And that's what you work with. If you perceive Armageddon, you get Armageddon. If you perceive other things, you get other things. And there's all kinds of experiments you can prove that different people in this room will perceive the same thing differently. And we don't have time to go into that, but there's all kinds of various things you can do. And anyone who decides to sign up for the online course of the Mayan will take you through those perception levels. So things are perception, perception, perception. If we take our planet, Gaia, as a living being, which I believe it is, might want to call it Ashti or Pachamama, Gaia as a living entity also is going through a process of perception. And the perception from it, just like a cell, is on the cell membrane. And who do you think is the perceiver? Who are the receptor sites on that cell surface? Well, the membrane of Gaia is the Earth's surface. And all the organisms, including us humans, are the receptor sites. And we perceive for Gaia. Literally, how we perceive, we receive. That's what it is. And literally, our perception into the planet Earth, into Gaia, sees what's going to happen into the next phase. By the way, on a cell membrane, if a receptor site is not useful, if it's redundant, it's erased and not used. We can easily see the dinosaurs were not very good perception sites. They were just gorgers of plankton and stuff like that. And so the planet didn't need them anymore, and we evolved. We have to decide if we want to go through this evolutionary process, we have to be a good perception phenomenon. So we have to learn how to perceive. Literally, I'm suggesting we're the interface of perception for the third dimensional world. In quantum physics, we have a phenomenon called a brane. B-R-A-N-S, if it's plural. And literally, the membrane between various dimensions is called a brane. So a membrane is the membrane of a cell. If you have a 9-dimensional universe, you have 9 branes. That's how it works. We are on the third brane, or we are the interface between the third and the fourth dimension. That's who we are. We're the perception site there. And that's why we have 3 sets of brains, actually. Oh my God, they coined the word right. Barbara Hand Close says that we're the keepers of the third dimension, if we so accept this. And literally, we have about 14 months to accept this mission, or self-destruct. It's mission impossible. We have to become good perception sites, or we're redundant. We're not needed anymore. So what are we really talking about here? We can now say categorically that who we are is a holographic projection of our own mind emotion, with an interference pattern from our mother, Gaia, and from our father, Sky, our grandfather, Sun, and our great-grandfather, Hamnanku, the center of the galaxy, the Milky Way. That's who we are. We're an interference pattern of a holographic projection. And so literally, if we connect with our mother, Gaia, and we connect with our father, Sky, Sun, and center of the universe, we are a function of that great spirit. And that's who we are. So when I was really looking at this in the ceremony, literally down in Belize, I realized that it all came down to perception, intent, and gratitude. Whenever you have in a computer program, you have to have an introduction, a function, and an ending. And the best ending for any of these things is gratitude. So then I also realized that you had to have integrity in this, so it became perception, integrity, and gratitude. And of course you had to integrate it, so it became perception, integration, and gratitude. And I realized those are the 3 little pigs. We got our 3 little pigs. And when I realized that was the formula to make it to the next plane of existence, the 3 little pigs, I decided that fly for me. And so now I know why we can't get enlightened until pigs can fly. When the 3 little pigs fly, we're doing okay. I'm serious. I was really happy to be able to find a 3 little pigs flying as a gift. So, our belief systems and focus is all that really matters in this whole thing. As I say, Professor Wheeler and Einstein and the group said that we live in an interactive universe. Our observations change what's happened, and that's been shown both at the quantum level, the physical level, and the experiments have done on that ad nauseum. That's a fact.